The jungle was too quiet. 15-year-old Eli stepped carefully over the thick blue roots that grew like snakes across the alien ground. His classmates were far behind now. The field trip had gone wrong after their transport shuttle had crashed. On this unknown planet, Eli was the only one who wandered too far from the others. He was tired, scared, and hungry. But more than that, he was curious. The trees here were tall and glowing, like green glass. Strange animals watched from above. He heard whispers in the wind, like voices. Or maybe just his imagination. Then he heard a sound. A soft cry. It was weak. But real. He moved toward it, pushing branches out of his way. He expected to find an injured animal. Instead, he found her. A cage stood in the middle of a small clearing, hidden by thick vines. The bars looked like they were made of black crystal. Inside the cage, curled up and chained, was an alien girl. Her skin was silver blue. Her eyes were closed, her breathing shallow. She looked his age, maybe younger. Her arms were bruised. Her body was thin. Her white dress was torn and dirty. She looked like she hadn't eaten in days. Eli froze. His heart pounded. Should he run? Was this a trap? Then her eyes opened, just a little. They locked onto his "human." She whispered, barely loud enough to hear. Eli stepped closer. Hey, are you okay? She smiled weakly. You came, not the one I hoped for, but you'll do. Eli didn't understand, but he dropped to his knees beside the cage. Who did this to you? He asked. She didn't answer. Instead, she looked at her wrist, where a glowing chain kept her tied to the floor. I'm not allowed to speak, she said softly. They'll come soon, you should go. But Eli shook his head. No, I can help. He searched his bag and pulled out a small multi-tool. He tried cutting the bars. The tool sparked and broke. These bars. They're not normal, he muttered. The alien girl laughed a little. It hurt her to laugh. No, they are not. This is a prison for someone dangerous. You're not dangerous, Eli said. She looked him in the eye. Not to you. Suddenly, a sound filled the air. Distant engines. A ship was coming. They're here, she said. Her voice had fear now. If they find you. Eli panicked. Then let me get you out. She reached out and touched his hand. Her skin was cold. Listen to me, she whispered. You cannot save me now, but maybe one day. She pulled something from her neck, a small glowing crystal, and placed it in his palm. When this glows again, come back. Eli didn't want to leave, but the engines were louder now. Drones were flying in fast. The girl raised her hand. With her last bit of strength, she spoke in a strange language. The vines moved. They wrapped around Eli and pulled him into a hidden hole behind the trees. He was covered, hidden just in time. A moment later, 2 alien guards arrived. Tall, armored, cold-faced. They scanned the cage. The girl was quiet again. She had hidden the fact that Eli was ever there. Eli stayed still, holding his breath. The guards didn't notice him. After they left, he waited an hour before crawling out. The girl was asleep or unconscious. He wanted to help more. But he was just a boy. He looked at the crystal in his hand. It pulsed softly, like a heart. I'll come back, he whispered. Then he ran back through the jungle, back toward the others, back to safety. That night, as the rescue team found the students and flew them home, Eli said nothing about the girl. Nobody would believe him, but he kept the crystal. He kept the memory. And deep inside, he knew. This wasn't the end. It was only the beginning. The crystal never made a sound. For 5 years, it lay silent in a small wooden box under Eli's bed. But Eli never forgot. He had grown taller, stronger, wiser. But no matter where he went, what school he joined, or how busy life got, he always checked the box. He had stopped telling people about her. They laughed at him. Alien princess in a cage? What were you dreaming? Maybe he had been dot until the night it pulsed. Eli woke up suddenly, sweat dripping down his face. The room was dark, but the crystal was not dot. It was glowing, bright, alive, beating dot just like she said it would. He reached for it with shaking hands. The moment his skin touched it, his vision blurred. A flash, a burning forest, a golden tower crumbling. Her voice, screaming. Then darkness again. Eli gasped and fell back. It was real. She was real. And now she was calling him. That same night, he packed a bag. No goodbye letter. No message to anyone. He sold his hoverbike for fuel credits and booked a one-way trip to the edge of the galaxy. To the cursed sector Zeta, a place no humans went anymore. Most thought it was just empty jungle. A dead zone. But Eli knew better. That planet wasn't dead. She was still there. 3 days later, the shuttle landed on a broken platform surrounded by fog. The smell hit him first: wet leaves, old fires, and something sour in the air. Something rotten. He stepped off, boots sinking slightly into moss. Everything looked older now. The trees were overgrown. The landing site had rusted. Even the sky looked bruised, like it was holding its breath. He took a deep one and stepped forward. He followed the same path he remembered from 5 years ago. Every step brought flashes of that day. The cage, her bruises, her whisper. Come back when you're grown. And now he was. Hours passed. Just before nightfall, he reached the old clearing. He pushed through the vines and stopped. The cage was still there, broken, empty. He stepped closer. The chains were cut. The floor was burned. Something had happened here. Eli knelt where she once lay. He ran his hand over the cracked ground. There, scratched into the dirt, almost lost to time, was a symbol, the same one glowing on the crystal. A message? A trail? Before he could decide, a branch snapped behind him. He turned fast, but no one was there. Only a shadow in the trees. Watching. Suddenly, he heard a whisper on the wind. Eli. His blood turned cold. That voice, it was her. She was alive. But was she in danger? Was it a trap? Or was she waiting? Before he was a man, he had already made a promise. Not to a country. Not to a flag. Not even to his family. He made a promise. To a girl in a cage. A stranger. An alien. A prisoner of something far bigger than he understood. And for 5 years, he trained like that promise was his life. At 17, Eli joined survival camps on off-world colonies. By 18, he could track creatures through frozen storms. By 19, he was beating trained soldiers in hand-to-hand combat. No one knew why he pushed so hard. No one knew what drove him. They called him obsessed. They called him lost. But they didn't know about the glowing crystal he wore around his neck, hidden under his shirt. They didn't hear her whisper in the dark. Come back when you're grown. The crystal had been silent for years. Until one night, everything changed. Eli had just returned from a desert drill on Mars Station Alpha. Dust still clung to his gear. His muscles ached. He tossed his pack onto his bunk and was about to fall asleep when it began to burn. The crystal on his chest glowed so bright it lit up the whole room. And for a second, he couldn't breathe. A vision hit him like lightning. Flames, screams, a girl in chains fighting back. Her voice, Eli, please. Then silence. When he opened his eyes, his hands were shaking. The time had come. The next day, he disappeared. He didn't say goodbye to anyone. He didn't file leave papers. He just vanished, one name in a long list of young soldiers who went missing. But Eli wasn't lost. He had a destination. Using fake IDs and black market transport, Eli made his way across 3 systems. He bribed, lead, fought, and smuggled his way to the cursed Sector Zeta, a restricted zone on no map. Even the locals feared it. Nothing lives there, they said. Ghosts, others whispered. Something's wrong with the air. Eli didn't care. He had to go back, not just because he promised her, but because he needed to know. Was she still alive? When he landed on the jungle planet again, it was different. Darker, angrier. The vines were thicker, the trees too quiet. The air smelled like smoke, but he walked forward, every step guided by memory and the crystal, glowing hotter on his chest. He reached the old clearing before sunset. The cage was gone now. In its place stood a stone pillar, carved with strange, alien writing, and at the center, the exact same symbol from the crystal. He touched it. Suddenly, a voice echoed in his head. "If you've returned, then I'm not alone." It was her. He spun around but saw no one. Then from the trees something moved. A shadow stepped forward, tall, wrapped in black fabric, face hidden beneath a silver mask. "Who are you?" Eli asked, his hand going to his blade. The figure didn't answer. Instead, she held up the matching half of the crystal. It glowed. Eli's did too. He knew. "It's you," he whispered. She removed her mask. Yes, it was her. But different. Her eyes were sharper, her voice stronger. She no longer looked like the helpless girl he once found in a cage. She looked like a warrior. "I waited 5 years," she said. "I didn't know if you would come back." "I promised," Eli said quietly. "You've changed," she said. "So have you." She gave a small smile. Then it faded. "My world is dying, Eli. My people are scattered, hunted, and the ones who imprisoned me, they still rule from the shadows." Eli stepped closer. "Then tell me what to do." She looked him over. "You're not a boy anymore." "No," he said. "I'm here to finish what we started." The forest was alive, but it no longer welcomed him. Eli could feel it in the ground. Every step echoed with old memories and new danger. Birds no longer sang. The wind no longer whispered. Instead, the trees watched him. They had grown twisted. Since his last visit, branches like claws, roots that moved when no one looked. The entire jungle felt like it remembered him, and wasn't sure it forgave him. But Eli didn't come for forgiveness. He came for her. And now, she was walking just ahead of him, barefoot, silent, fierce. No longer a helpless prisoner, the alien girl was now his guide through her broken world. Her name, he learned, was Rinya. They traveled through the jungle for hours, past crumbled towers and vines covered in alien symbols. Old machines lay rusted under the moss, half swallowed by time. "What happened here?" Eli finally asked. Rinya didn't stop walking. "My people were once proud, free, but then the Empire came. They brought chains, not peace." She paused at a giant metal skull, the remains of a war drone. "They said we were too dangerous to be left alone. So they locked us in cages, destroyed our cities, and took the strongest of us for experiments." Eli clenched his fists. "That's what they did to you," she nodded. "I was one of the last they captured. They wanted to break me. But you survived." She turned to him with sharp eyes. "Because of you." As night fell, they reached a cliffside. Below it, hidden behind fog and vines, was a giant buried facility, silent, glowing faintly with red lights. "That's where they kept the others," Rinya said. "My people, my family." Eli stared down at it. "Is anyone still alive?" Rinya didn't answer. Instead, she pulled a small device from her pocket and held it to the glowing crystal around his neck. The two crystals pulsed together. Suddenly, the ground below shifted, stone sliding over stone. A hidden path opened in the cliff wall. "Only someone with both pieces of the crystal can unlock the way," she whispered. "I couldn't open it alone. That's why I called for you." They stepped into the darkness. The path was narrow and cold. Lights flickered along the walls, showing faded murals of alien warriors and ancient battles. Rinya walked ahead, torch in hand. Eli followed, heartbeat heavy. Finally, the tunnel opened into a large underground chamber. In the center was a massive stasis pod, cracked, leaking light inside. Was another girl, frozen in time. Rinya's eyes softened. My sister, Eli's breath caught. She's still alive? Barely, Rinya said, but I don't know how to wake her. He stepped forward, the glowing crystal in his hand as. He approached, the pod reacted, lights glowing brighter. Systems whirring to life. It's reacting to you, Rinya said. The pod opened with a hiss. The girl inside took a breath, shaky, slow but real. Tears filled Rinya's eyes. Eli stepped back. She's awake. But before they could celebrate, a loud alarm rang through the chamber. Rinya's face turned pale. They know we're here. Suddenly, the floor trembled. Steel doors opened on the far wall and armored soldiers poured in, weapons raised. Run! Rinya shouted. Eli grabbed her sister and followed. They dashed through hidden halls and back into the jungle, dodging blaster fire. Trees exploded. Vines burned. Behind them, the Empire's machines roared to life again. The planet wasn't dead. It had just been waiting. As they disappeared into the night, Rinya looked back once and whispered, "This is only the beginning." Asterisk. The night sky above them burned. Flames rose from the jungle behind as the Empire's machines hunted the escapees. Drones flew like vultures overhead, scanning for heat. The air stank of smoke, metal, and fear. But Rinya didn't slow down. She carried her weak, barely conscious sister on her back, running barefoot across roots and stone. Eli followed close behind, bleeding from a deep cut on his arm. He wanted to ask questions. He wanted answers, but now wasn't the time. They had to survive first. Hours later, they reached a cave hidden by thick moss. Inside, it was cold and quiet. Rinya laid her sister down gently on a bed of leaves. Eli collapsed beside them. For the first time since they met again, there was silence. Then Eli finally asked the question burning in his chest. "Who are you really, Rinya?" She didn't answer right away. Instead, she stared into the shadows. Her voice, when it came, was low. "I wasn't supposed to live." Eli looked at her. "What do you mean?" She stood up slowly and walked to the cave wall. With her fingers, she wiped away moss, revealing a faded royal symbol carved into the stone, an eye within a star. "I'm not just a prisoner," she said. "Not just a rebel. I'm the last daughter of the Viren crown." Eli blinked. "Your royalty?" She nodded. "My people once ruled this sector, with peace, with balance, until the Empire feared us and destroyed everything." She turned toward her sister. "They killed my mother. My brothers. I was taken, tortured, studied. But I held on to one thing, hope. Hope that I would return," Eli said quietly. She looked at him. "Yes." Eli stood up and walked to her. "Why didn't you tell me before? Would it have changed what you did?" she asked. He thought for a moment, then shook his head. "No," she smiled. "That's why." Suddenly, the crystal on his chest began to glow again, brighter than ever. Rinya's eyes widened. "It's reacting to something." Then her sister stirred. "She's waking up," Eli said. The girl opened her eyes slowly. Her voice was a whisper. "Rinya." "I'm here," Rinya said, holding her hand tightly. Then her sister's gaze shifted to Eli. Her eyes were the same soft silver as Rinya's, but filled with shock. "Is he human?" Rinya nodded. "The same one who saved me." The girl's lips trembled. "Then the old stories were true." "What stories?" Eli asked. Rinya answered slowly. "Long ago, my people believed that when our bloodline was near extinction, a fire-hearted outsider would arrive, not with ships or armies, but with compassion and courage." Eli frowned. "You think that's me?" She stepped closer. "You risked your life for someone in a cage. You came back without being called. You walked into danger with no promise of reward." She placed her hand over his heart. "That's what our world lost. That's what you brought back." Eli didn't know what to say. He wasn't a hero. He wasn't royalty. He was just a guy who kept a promise. But sometimes Maybe that was enough. Before anyone could speak again, a deep hum echoed from the back of the cave. The walls began to glow faintly. "What's happening?" Eli asked. Rinya looked around. "This cave, it's alive." She walked deeper and pressed her hand against the stone. A door opened. Behind it, a hidden chamber filled with ancient technology, maps and glowing weapons. This was the royal command chamber," Rinya whispered. "I thought it was lost." Her sister gasped. "Then we can still fight back." Rinya turned to Eli. "This is why I needed you. Not to rescue me, but to help me reclaim our future." Eli took a deep breath. He didn't feel ready, but when he looked at Rinya, he knew he had no choice, because now it wasn't just about her anymore. It was about everyone who had ever been caged. Asterisk. The rebels didn't trust him. Eli could see it in their eyes, the way they held their weapons tighter when he walked by, the way they whispered when he entered a room. He was human, and humans, in their world, were tools of the Empire. But Rinya stood beside him like a shield. "This one's different," she said. "This one came back." And slowly, they began to listen. Deep inside the mountain, the old royal chamber had become their new base. Holograms glowed in the air maps, battle plans, energy routes. Rebel scouts moved in and out, bringing updates. The Empire was growing bold again. They thought the resistance was dead. They had no idea that a Viren princess still lived, and she had a human by her side. Eli leaned over the map table. "This power station here. If we cut the energy flow, the drones patrolling the jungle will lose control." A four-armed alien scoffed. "And how do we reach it? Fly? We don't have ships." "No," Eli said. "We go underground." Rinya stepped beside him. "There's an old tunnel system beneath the mountain. It leads right to the Empire's outpost." The room fell silent. It was a suicide mission. Everyone knew it, but Rinya's voice cut through the fear. "I will go." Eli nodded. "So will I." That night, the two of them prepared alone. Rinya checked her blade and armor. Ele loaded his stolen blaster and secured the glowing crystal under his shirt. They said nothing at first. Then Rinya spoke. Quietly, "Are you afraid?" Eli gave a small smile. "Terrified." She looked at him. "Then why are you doing this?" He met her gaze. "Because the first time I saw you, you were alone in a cage." He stepped closer. "I promised I'd come back, but this time I won't let you fight alone." For a second, she looked like the girl he once found in the jungle, tired, hopeful, afraid to trust. Then she leaned forward and rested her forehead gently against his. "I'm glad it was you." They entered the tunnels just before dawn. It was cold, silent, and pitch black. Water dripped from the ceiling. Old bones lay scattered along the edges, proof of those who came before and never returned. But the crystal around Eli's neck glowed faintly, guiding them. They moved fast, crawling through vents, jumping gaps, dodging ancient traps. Rinya led the way, graceful as a shadow. Eli followed, sweating, bleeding, but never stopping. Finally, they reached the lower chamber beneath the power station. Eli peered through a crack in the wall. Above, huge energy cores pulsed. Drones hovered like silent ghosts. Guards marched. "This is it," he whispered. Rinya nodded. "Once we disable the cores, the signal towers will shut down. The jungle will be ours again." They waited for the right moment. Then they moved. It was chaos. They climbed up from the tunnels like ghosts. Rinya struck first, fast and silent, blade flashing. Eli blasted a drone mid-air, then ducked behind cover. Alarms rang. The guards screamed. Energy. Bolts flew in every direction. Rinya reached the main panel. "Cover me." Eli fought back to back with her, his arms burning, his mind racing, but his feet never stepping away. She slammed the crystal into the console. The lights went out. Outside, across the jungle, signal towers died. The machines shut down. the rebel camp lit up with hope. And somewhere deep in the planet's roots, something ancient began to stir. They had done it. They had hit the Empire where it hurt. But as they turned to leave, the air grew cold. From the shadows stepped a new figure. Tall, armored, eyes glowing like fire. Eli raised his blaster. Rinya stepped forward with her blade. The figure removed his helmet, revealing a scarred human face. "I've been looking for you, girl," he said with a cruel smile. "And your little hero." Rinya gasped. "He's the one who sold me to the Empire." Eli's jaw clenched. "Then let's finish what we started." The ground cracked beneath them. Sparks flew. Smoke filled the air. The old power station trembled like it was about to collapse. But Eli wasn't thinking about any of that. His eyes were locked on the man in front of him. A human, scarred, cold, dangerous. The one who had chained Rinya. The one who had laughed as she was dragged into that dark prison 5 years ago. The one Eli had never seen, but somehow had always imagined. "You," Eli said, voice low. The man smiled. "Funny, I remember you. The boy in the jungle. I told the guards to let you go. Figured you'd die on your own." He chuckled. "Didn't think you'd grow up into her little lapdog." Eli didn't move. Rinya stepped beside him. Her blade hummed with energy. "No more cages," she said coldly. "No more running." The man cracked his neck. "Then come, little queen. Let's see what royalty is worth." He moved first, faster than expected. A plasma whip cracked toward Rinya, but Eli stepped in front, blocking it with his stolen shield. Sparks flew. Pain shot through his arm. Rinya spun under the second strike and slashed upward, cutting the man's shoulder. He roared and charged. What followed was chaos. Steel against energy. Whip against blade. Fire against flesh. Eli fought with everything he had. He wasn't faster. He wasn't stronger. But he had something else. He had a reason. At one point, the man knocked Eli to the ground, blood in his mouth. Vision blurred. "You think this girl matters?" The man growled, raising his weapon. "She's just one more alien." Rinya's voice rang out like thunder. "She's my people." She threw her blade. It spun through the air, clean and silent, and struck the man through the chest. He gasped, stumbled, fell to his knees. Eli got up slowly, limping. The man looked up at him one last time. Should have let her rot. Then he collapsed. Silenced. Only the sound of the wind returning. The jungle around them seemed to breathe again. It was over. Rinya stood beside Eli. Her hand found his. "You kept your promise," she whispered. Eli looked at her. "So did you." She smiled. "But it's not just about us anymore." She turned to the sky where, far above, the Empire's control towers were beginning to fail. Across the region, rebel forces were rising, free from the machines that had hunted them for years. A new dawn was coming, and it started here. With them. Later, in the rebel city, once a ruin, now alive with celebration, Rinya stood before her. People, dressed in white armor, her symbol glowing on her chest. She raised her hand. "This is Eli," she said. "A human, the one who saved me when I had nothing. The one who came back when no one else would. He is not just my friend, he is my proof that hope still lives." The crowd cheered. Eli, standing awkwardly at her side, turned red. He didn't know how to be a hero, but he had something more important. He had kept his word. That night, under the stars, he and Rinya sat together on a stone balcony. "Are you staying?" she asked softly. Eli looked at her. "I think I already did." She smiled. "Good, because there's still work to do." He laughed. "There's always work." She rested her head on his shoulder. "But this time, we'll do it together." Far away, the crystal around his neck glowed faintly, not as a warning, not as a call for help, but as a promise fulfilled.